The morning show here on the Rise News. Well, it's now time to take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. Ahead of Nigeria's 60th independence anniversary on October 1, a Nigeria at 60 logo and a theme for the Diamond Jubilee celebration has been unveiled. Now, the anniversary identity is crafted around imagery of a giant figure, 60 superimposed on the Nigerian map, with a figure 0 comprising several glittering crystals into a giant sparkling diamond. President Muhammadu Buhari reminded Nigerians of the need for togetherness, a word on which the entire anniversary celebration revolves. He says his government will work towards the greatest inclusiveness and called for the participation of every Nigerian. The president also said Nigeria at 60 is worth pomp and pageantry, but the global COVID-19 pandemic is forcing a low-key celebration. Yes, so Diamond Jubilee for Nigeria comes at a time when there's a lot of agitation wherever you look. I mean, just recently we're hearing about the Oduduwa Nation. You hear of the IPOB, the agitation for Biafra. You hear of, so many ethnic clashes, whether it's Kaduna, the Kaduna crisis having that ethno, undertone to it. And then, of course, recently we had the conversation from former President Olusegun Obasanjo, Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka, who are accusing this government of dividing or of the nation sliding into a failed state under this administration. Does this celebration afford us another opportunity to come to the table together to discuss as Nigerians? Would this celebration, try to solve some of those issues?
Well, the president, in his speech, tried to allude to all of this. He made a point about the vision of our heroes past. And I think there was even a line in that his speech where he talked about our heroes past, their labors not being in vain. Because it will have been in vain if Nigeria is allowed to disintegrate. So according to him, the celebration will be around the theme of unity. And the theme of what is planned, 11 months of low-key celebration, is together we shall be. Together we shall be. But it looks like we have the president's speech. Maybe we'll listen to it first before I continue with the commentary.
That the selected option depicts our togetherness, a country of over 200 million people whose natural talent, grit, and passion glitter like the precious diamond we are. This, to me, is a special appreciation to our most precious asset, our people. Everywhere you go, Nigerians are sparkling like diamonds in the pack, whether in academia, business, innovation, music, movie, entertainment, fashion, and culture. All these properties made us unarguably the most prosperous black nation in the world. Our founding fathers, in spite of the differences in faith, tribe, and tongue, came together to fight for Nigeria's independence. This shall be a befitting tribute to the struggles of our heroes past.
To make the Diamond anniversary very inclusive and create opportunities for internationalization and buy-in by all sectors of the Nigerian people, a year-long celebration will be pursued starting from the date of launching a web portal to September 30th, 2021.
Well, the president there at the unveiling of the 60th independence anniversary logo for Nigeria. And Boss Mustafa, who was given the assignment of leading the interministerial group that came up with the logo. So I was saying, and the president's speech reflected that this is about unity, about togetherness, and the theme is together we shall be. And that clearly is a direct response to the divisive secessionist sentiments that have been expressed across the country, particularly when you think of IPOB and the secessionist slogan, and also in the Southwest, you have the Oduduwa Republic movement that even staged a protest, or if you like, a public event last week in London. And then, of course, you also have divisiveness in terms of security. Everybody trying to set up its own security outfit, whether it's the Eastern Nigeria Security Network or the Southwest Security Network known as Amotekun. And then all the ethno-religious conflicts that you have in different parts of the country. So I think it's a well-chosen theme. Together we shall be. Now, if you look at the logo itself, the president further in that speech tried to define it, that we're like the diamond. And in this regard, he says, Nigeria is sparkling. He even went as far as saying that Nigeria is the most prosperous nation in the black world. Well, many Nigerians have reacted to that. They say, well, that's not true. How are we prosperous when we can't even pay, when minimum wage is lower than the cost of a bag of rice? But you see that in that particular speech, the president concentrated more on people as assets, and how Nigerians continue to shine like diamond in different spheres of human endeavor, be it culture or music or business. But good enough, I noted,
domestic and sovereign,
as the president's voice, but good enough, I noted that the president didn't include politics as one of those areas in which Nigerians are shining like diamonds. That would have been quite surprising if he had said we're shining in politics. And I didn't see leadership mentioned, but definitely Nigerians are doing very well. They are the greatest assets that we have. And it's the resilience of the average Nigerian, I think, that should be celebrated. And the president acknowledging that, I think it's very good. The celebration will take 11 months, but we're told it will be low-key. How low-key it will be, we will see. So, but that's it.
Dr. Abati, I mean, great one you've said there. Very, very, very wonderful one. For me, I remember the words of Ralph Waldo Emerson that says, what lies before us and what lies behind us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. And it is those things that lie within us as Nigerians that we should celebrate. It's a human-based country, People say, what's our greatest export? They say crude oil. I say they lie. It's human capital. Human beings bringing 25 billion. Nigerians in the diaspora are doing good, decent work, bringing 25 billion to the economy year on year in this country. Nigerians all over the world has shown what the resilient Nigerian spirit is. There's nowhere you go. We lead the pack in America as one of the most educated, black diaspora population and the likes in America. So we are great people, but what lies within us? And a lot of people might argue that 1914 shouldn't have happened. It was just, for Lugard's own favor and the British, that's why the amalgamation. But there was a reason we came together, and we are good together. Let me coin your word. I love a big country, Dr. Abati. I don't love a small country. And Nigeria shall never disintegrate. We shall be one united, strong nation.
But I hope that the 11-month-long celebration will also provide us an opportunity to reflect deeply on the challenges of nationhood. We have a country, but are we a nation yet? These same people that we celebrate, this celebration is going to take place for 11 months at a time when the Nigerian people are groaning and lamenting, and they seem to be called upon by circumstances to become even more resilient than they have ever been. But of course, October 1 will be here shortly, and we'll have an opportunity to have a special program on Nigeria at 60. How have we fared? Are we truly the giant? Are we truly prosperous?
Are we shining bright like a diamond?
Or are we shining like diamond or as dark as charcoal? And what do we need to do to move this country forward to a higher level?
Indeed. Oh, well said.
And that is special for me, because it's my dad's birthday.
Oh, okay. Your dad's a true Nigerian.
No, my dad is October.
Oh, your dad.
Okay, let's move on.
So that means you celebrate his birthday for
It'll be double celebration.
No problem.
Double celebration. So other stories now. The former national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Oshiomhole, has appealed for a peaceful governorship election in Edo State on Saturday. He spoke at a media briefing in Benin City, the capital.
Saturday, all of us will be expected to come out and perform a very, very important duty to elect a governor that will superintend and govern our state over the next 4 years. For me, and I ask you to accept, and for all of us, Saturday the 19th of September is another edition of our Democracy Day. In this state, we have established, at least while I was a governor for 8 years, a tradition of one man, one vote. We spend a lot of time and energy and resources to promote that campaign. Because as you will all recall, before then, election in Edo State was for survival of the fittest. Under my stewardship as your governor, I persuaded all of us, and we all agree, that we can make the vote count without violence. And so, beginning with my election in 2012, of which I am eternally grateful to the people of Edo State, as you will remember, I won in all the 18 local government areas, scoring a total vote of about 74.6% of the total vote cast. Nobody was shot, nobody was hospitalized. We celebrated it. In 2016, we worked hard as well. Again, I was the governor, created an enabling environment to ensure that what matters is the PVC and the ballot papers. And again, we had a peaceful election.
Well, I guess once a governor, always a governor. You never forget what you should do in office.
Well, I mean, if I were in Comrade Adams Oshiomole's shoes, I would probably also make this kind of statement a few days to the election. You know, the U.S. says they already have the list of persons that they are blacklisted.
Didn't go there.
The people will have
not going there.
Visa restrictions. The UK is also talking about what is it called? Visa restrictions and possible seizure of assets, and also international prosecution
law. Yes.
Under international law. Yes,
yes.
You know. So of course it makes sense to come up, but that's on the lighter side. But I think the point made, you know, should be well taken. The need for peace, the need for level playing field. Although I'm not too sure Comrade Adams Oshiomhole himself helped to create a level playing field as a chairman of All Progressives Congress or as a leader within the APC in Benin. But if he has this sudden illumination and he thinks that level playing field is important, certainly it is important, because that's what will ensure the integrity of the process in Edo State on Saturday, and also ensure freeness, fairness of the election. And of course, he talks about one man, one vote. It's good to hear him echoing that, because that was a phrase that was made very popular in 2015 and earlier by President Goodluck Jonathan, when he made the point that, look, the blood of any Nigerian is not worth his ambition, and that people should be allowed to exercise their right to vote. And I hope that on Saturday, all the political actors will ensure that the people do not just have the opportunity to vote, but that their vote counts. So it's good to hear from him. All various leaders from Edo State have been making similar statements. Chief John Odigi Oyegun. I also saw a statement from Chief Tommy Kimi. You know, so it's good that political leaders in Edo State are all speaking up.
For me, it's great, but I don't want it to end here. They should call their foot soldiers and call them to order. That is what is most important. When this will be exciting, I mean, we can make speeches in media and do something else in the corner. But if they can call their foot soldiers and say, on no account must ballot box be stolen in my name. On no account must we fight others in my name. That is when I will be happy. It's not about just saying things in the media. It's about showing and going one step ahead to ensuring that peace is restored in every state. A state like Ondo, for instance, I'm sorry I'm deviating to Ondo. I heard about the fracas, 2 opposition party members. You know, some people were injured in that. We shouldn't condone things like that. So it's about calling the foot soldier. So I think if he might have said it in the speech, I didn't hear it, but one part I want him to say is, please, my followers, ensure that there's peace in the land. Specifically, my followers. It's really very important.
You know, he makes reference to his time as governor and when he was vying for office. And he says, you know, if we did not mar the elections then, now that I'm not even on the ballot, why should anybody mar the elections in my name? You know, it's good to hear him remember how he also vied for election and there was a level playing field for him. Which we cannot all forget
Which
how
Goodluck Jonathan provided.
Exactly. When, you know, the party at the national level was the PDP and he won an election as an opposition, the APC in Edo State, you know, and then he went and thanked the president at that time. We all remember and said, thank you for giving me a level playing field. You know, this is not something we see. It's not common. So it's good to remember those days. And
now that you are talking about history, you'll recall that when Comrade Oshiomhole won, the president was the first person to congratulate him.
Yeah. Because
immediately the result was announced, the president called me and said, go and issue a statement immediately congratulating him. Now, the PDP in Edo State, they were not too pleased with that at that time. They protested. Why would the presidency immediately congratulate? You know, but it was the president that had spoken, and that helped to douse tension. And I hope that if we have a similar situation in Edo State this time around, that the presidency will waste no time in providing the necessary leadership and congratulating whoever wins.
And in the spirit of history, President Goodluck Jonathan is the first president ever in this country to call an opposition candidate after he lost the election and congratulated him. No other Nigerian president has done that in history.
Well, we hope that leadership will be provided at all levels.
All levels.
At the state level, at the national level, and at the party level. Because it looks like, you know, what we are going to have on Saturday in Edo State is really a battle. Comrade Oshiomhole said, survival of the fittest. I don't know whether that's supposed to be a Freudian slip, but if it is a survival of the fittest, you know what that means. But in any case, we're hoping for peace, level playing field, and responsible conduct on the part of all the actors involved.
Indeed. Well, that's all on the news headlines. We'll take a short break now. And when we return, we'll have the duo of Road to the Dairy and Aaron Akerjola to give us updates on Africa business and COVID-19. Stay with us.
The morning show right here on the Raz News channel, and our dependable Road to the Dairy is here to give us Africa business update. Over to you, Rotus.
Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Doctor, and good morning, Adeswa.
Good morning.
Yeah, on fuel and electricity, the Nigerian Labour Congress has apparently given the federal government a 2-week ultimatum to reverse the increases that they announced in electricity tariffs and in PMS price. Mr. Ayuba Waba, who is the NLC president, talked about how purchasing power of Nigerians has been eroded with the 30K minimum wage having to come against increased electricity prices and increased PMS prices. Interestingly enough, he also mentioned other countries. He said minimum wage in Ghana is higher than it is in Nigeria. Also said minimum wage in other West African countries is higher. But funny enough, he didn't talk about what Ghanaians and other West African countries are paying for fuel. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So they've got 2 weeks. I should be noted that this is a tweet here from the Premium Times. They said that this was coming out of the meeting between labor leaders and government officials, that a quote here, ideally Nigerians should be paying 183 naira per litre for petrol. We're paying 159 now. This has been attributed to the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timipre Silva, although he hasn't, I don't believe he's come out to confirm this yet. But this apparently was what the Premium Times said occurred in their meetings. And if you remember last week, I did that whole analysis where I was looking at what other countries were paying and that the foreign exchange component is what Nigerians have to be, government officials have to be upfront about with Nigerians about how that forex component will play into what we should be paying. So now you've got this coming out now, and we'll get to the responses in a second. But again, Nigerians should be told that, look, if oil marketers are going to be going out to source for fuel and having to probably pay the parallel market rate, which is in the 400s, what would that cost component mean for the final price of petrol? So if we look at a couple responses that came in, one here from this gentleman, he says, ideally, government should be paying 52,000 as minimum wage. Should I increase the volume? And then another young man by the name of Verse, he says the amount is too small. He says, according to international market statistics, Nigeria sells fuel at the cheapest rate. And he now says, okay, you should finish us with your ice cream. So anyway, that's just a couple responses there. One, on the one hand, saying that, minimum wage should be going up. On the other hand, recognizing that Nigeria is still paying one of the lowest amounts, or rather, the Nigerians are paying the lowest amounts for fuel. And again, the forex component, it has to be addressed at some point. Now, this is a video that just came, but now we're going to talk about waste baskets. This is a very interesting exchange that happened between, let's take a listen to this, between a Lagos State official, I think it's from Loma, and someone else that was traveling around this area. Let's take a listen.
Give me that, give me that. Yeah, you are carrying Ekiti State.
Huh?
You are carrying Ekiti waste bin inside Lagos State vehicle.
Inside Lagos State
this
vehicle.
is what you are supposed to carry.
Okay.
Huh?
Okay, and this is Ekiti waste basket.
Inside Lagos State vehicle.
Okay.
Eh?
Yes.
Which is wrong.
Okay.
This is what you are supposed to carry in your vehicle. The fact you are living in Lagos State, you are working in Lagos State, your vehicle is Lagos State, this is what you are supposed to carry, not Ekiti State.
Okay. So if I go and buy my own waste basket in the market?
You shouldn't, because your vehicle number is registered in Lagos State. You are giving vehicle number in Lagos State, which is being registered on the system. So definitely you are supposed to carry Lagos State vehicle waste basket together.
We have registered in Lagos State.
That's why you are carrying this.
How much is this authorized basket? How much is it? Eh? How much is authorized basket? I should go and meet him. You are the one stopping us. I should go and meet him. That's insolent. I'm asking you, I should go and meet him inside there.
Everybody has his own post.
No, because a different person has
of labor.
A different person has a number. A different person catches the person. Please come. I can't go there. Come out. You cut us.
This is his own office. You have to meet him.
You are a very stupid man.
Oh, guy, you are mad.
You are very stupid.
I said you are
mad.
So
the one selling baskets.
I said you are
a very stupid man.
You are a fool, big fool.
How much is basket?
You're a very stupid man.
Huh?
3.5, sir. With the clearance. 3.5.
Eh?
With the clearance, 3.5.
With the clearance, yes, 3.5.
Which clearance? What's the clearance?
Huh? Okay, no problem.
No problem.
No problem, bring it.
This is the country we live in. Mad people on the road. Mad people are flying the road. You to go inside bush.
All right, so I mean, this is
this a joke?
Look at this tweet. Let's take a look at this tweet from Oluwatoyin. Somebody, I was scrolling down. So it says here, this is real, and I can confirm. It's on the Lagos Badagry Expressway. That bus stop is called Comforter, not far from Area K Police Post. That basket is 3,500 naira on a road that is totally destroyed and needs urgent attention. Look, I mean, there was another Twitter. Yeah, it's not even funny. I mean, how do you? This is tax. You're taxing people for a basket. I mean, it was unreal. If it wasn't for phones, I have to tell you that Nigeria, our cell phones are the new CCTV. If it's not for our phones, this wouldn't have been captured. Anyway, quickly now to something else. This is a billboard that was noticed in Lagos. Someone tagged me in a tweet. Okay, it's a little far. We have a second image that gets us a little closer to what. Okay, so look at it. It says invest in farming projects and earn 73% profits in 6 months. 73%. I'm looking forward to talking to someone from the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. They have a draft bill that is supposed to be addressing these crowdfunding schemes, because these agro investments are getting ridiculous. This is on a billboard. So they've paid the Lagos State Signage Agency to put this billboard up. How do you promise 73% in this current interest rate environment? What possible farming products do you have that can return 73%? And there are influencers on Twitter. I didn't want to now put them out here, but I saw this 4 of them, some with 10,000 followers, 50,000 followers, telling people they've obviously been paid to advertise these products. They don't know anything about investments, don't know anything about the interest rate environment, telling people to go and put money in this thing and get 73%. It's unreal. You know, so the SEC, hopefully, they've told me about a timeline where they have to put out this draft. The public has to respond to it, give comments. Another 15 days for the Minister of Finance to respond to it. Then it becomes law. Then they can start clamping down on some of these investments. Finally, let me look at the reversal. Look at TBO rates from yesterday's auction, just to show you the kind of interest rate environment that we're in. For the auction that took place yesterday, we're looking at 1.0% for a 90-day T-bill. I think 1.1 for a 184 T-bill, and about 3.9. Okay, I know we don't have the image here, but we should have it up there, showing the Treasury bill auction that took place. So rates are extremely low. So how do you now tell somebody that you can get 73% return in 6 months? Nigerians have to be on their guard. And that's our update.
I thought you were going to call out the company behind that farming project.
I mean, some random farm for me, random company.
Because there are so many of such companies, groups already now. This one has a billboard, but if you go on social media, they are all over Facebook, they are all over Instagram, asking you to invest money either to buy a ram, and that ram will give you a 100% return within 2 months. Or, you know, they could say it's a pig they're asking you to buy.
Right.
And a lot of people may be deceived, and there is no structure in place to monitor many of these investors who fall within the range of small and medium-scale enterprises. You've talked about the Securities and Exchange Commission. I hope that the Consumer Protection Agency will also take an interest in this in one regard, because people can be easily fooled. Now, the issue about the waste basket, I mean, that's completely laughable. But I know that the Lagos State Environmental Agency have been complaining about littering, and also the Waste Management Agency. But this level of desperation that we have seen, you know, even if you have a waste bin, except you buy it directly from Lagos State, then it is not useful. The gentleman was even asking, what if I buy it myself from the market? Because a waste bin is available, you know, in any market. The gentleman there was saying, no, you cannot. You have to buy directly from government. So there's contradiction here. At one level, government wants to stop littering, but at the same time, the enforcement of environmental habits, clean environmental habits, has become some form of extortion.
Yes.
And it's good that this video is now trending, it's circulating. I hope that the relevant agencies will call the officials to order, particularly the ones that appear in this video. Then you talked about the NLC, TUC. Well, I don't know. The NLC is to meet again on September 22 to take a final decision after this 14-day ultimatum that they have given. Well, is NLC really sincere? Because you recall that about 2 weeks ago, some civil society organizations had to picket the offices of the Nigeria Labour Congress in Abuja to ask them, to even compel them to say something. And now that they've spoken up, after a meeting they had with the Minister of Labour on Tuesday, where they said there was nothing on the table, government was not going to shift its position. Now they say they are going on strike. They've given the 14-day ultimatum. But in the statements reported in the papers, I don't see the NLC offering any alternative ideas. What specifically are they asking for, apart from just telling government to reverse itself on electricity tariffs and the pump price of petrol? What alternatives? The only one they're talking about is about refinery. But I don't see a body of ideas with which they can engage government. So it's not enough to just go on strike. What alternative ideas are you putting on the table? As for TUC, the Trade Union Congress, they gave a 7-day ultimatum on Monday this week. Now the minister says the ultimatum they have given is invalid because it is misdirected. In his opinion, that ultimatum was directed to the president. But it's not the president that handles labor matters. It is he, the labor minister, that is recognized by the ILO Now, I guess that's neither here nor there.
Right.
You know, and state officials should be careful how they manage situations. I don't think the minister needs to be combative. There is need for more engagement. Perhaps the labor leaders do not really understand what government is doing, and they need to be engaged more. And there are many Nigerians, too, who do not yet understand what is going on. And we need more in terms of information, in terms of engagement, until Nigerians adjust to this new reality.
And I'll say the same thing for agriculture, because agriculture seems to be the new cash cow. And we are beginning to see that it's also becoming the site of new Ponzi schemes. But you call that the SEC. Dr. Abati also mentioned the Nigerian Protection Council. I think that the Advertising Protection Council also should be called out here, because they approve all billboard content. Why did they approve a 73% return in 6 months? That's a Ponzi scheme, nothing else.
You're very spot on. I think APCON should be called into this. And if you can, Rotus, in your further show, if you can get the registrar of APCON, you know, to come account for, because all adverts are supposed to go through them for approval. That's the Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria. And if APCON could approve this, then something is wrong somewhere, because this should not have just been taken like that. And I also want to speak to the tortuous relationship between the Minister of Labour and Labour in this country. It's quite very sad. I mean, I'm not surprised it's happening. If you even remember the last time, he almost got into a fisticuff where some Labour, when the minister claims some Labour members came to the front of his house and, you know, they came to even destroy things in his house. And it's sort of like an assault in this country. The Minister of Labour should be able to carry Labour along. As regards alternative and new ideas, we're talking of auto gas now, all right? We're talking of auto gas. I've checked it. Many countries use it. Albania, about 16 countries in Europe use it. It's 50% cheaper than the normal price. You know, so if the conversion of cars will start for auto gas, I would like to have my car converted. So we'll go for a quick break now, and we'll come back. We'll have further conversations. Thank you so much.
For update on COVID-19 pandemic, Aaron Akerejola is now here with us. Good morning, Aaron.
Yes, good morning, Doctor. Good morning to Stella Job. I must actually say to you and Adesua yesterday. Good morning to you, Rufai.
Good morning, Aaron.
Yeah, let's get straight into it. We started off from the U.S. Before that, let's actually look at the global numbers in terms of COVID-19. As of this morning, we can actually see that we are getting closer to 30 million confirmed cases of COVID-19 across the world. At the moment, total deaths still also edging closer to 1 million. That very grim milestone. Sooner than later, we will be hitting that particular milestone, especially with the number of deaths we're seeing escalate in several other countries in the world. But before then, let's actually not get into the U.S. Without a doubt, the U.S. is the most infected. It's still the epicenter of COVID-19 in the world. Experts are saying it might change very soon. And let's look at that. But before we look into how things might change for the worse in terms of the epicenter moving, remember it has moved from China to Italy and now to the United States, and it might be going to India. But before then, in the United States, there's still been a major back and forth in terms of COVID-19 and the vaccines that might just be the deal breaker for President Donald Trump. Of course, we know elections are coming in the beginning of November, and he's almost hinging his hopes on getting a vaccine before then, and it has pushed him to say things that might not be feasible. At the moment, he's been going back and forth with the head of the CDC, Dr. Redfield, about when a vaccine will be out. We've been speaking about this over the years, over the last couple of months, and whether a vaccine will be ready. A vaccine will be ready, hopefully might be ready between October, end of October into November. But whether or not the entirety of America will be able to get vaccinated is almost impossible. And that is where I think the conflict actually stands. Donald Trump says there will be a vaccine, with what we've even heard from Pfizer and the rest of them coming out, AstraZeneca, and coming out and saying that there might be a vaccine by the end of October. One thing is this: will the entire of America be vaccinated by the end of 2020? The answer is no. Certainly, based on scale of priority and based on preference, certainly not all Americans will get vaccinated. And President Donald Trump doesn't seem to understand that, or maybe he got the message wrong from Dr. Redfield when he was actually giving a testimony on Capitol Hill. And at the moment, as he's been hitting out at the man, and at the moment, Dr. Redfield has still insisted, which is something we've always been saying here, on this COVID-19 update that the best way to mitigate against COVID-19 is still face mask, hand washing, and even keeping safe distance. And in his own words, Dr. Redfield has said that it is even more potent than a vaccine at the moment, because we're not sure when we get a vaccine, but one thing we can do and control is what we do and how we go about spreading COVID-19. And the best way to do that is to ensure that you keep a safe distance, you actually sanitize as much as possible or wash your hands, and ensure that you always wear a face mask in a place you cannot socially distance. Now, looking at the vaccine rates, just to remind everyone and to just put it out there, if they can actually help us out. Now, you can actually see it in phase 1, we see about 27 vaccines, in phase 2, 14, phase 3, 9, and for limited releases and trials at the moment, we've got 5. AstraZeneca have been testing, they paused and they've begun again. They've tested about 30,000 people across the plane, both in India, both in Brazil, even in the United Kingdom, in the US, and also South Africa. Pfizer and the German pharmaceutical BioNTech has also been doing massive testing. They're almost done. I think they've actually crossed 25,000 of the 30,000 initial, and they are trying to expand that particular test to about 44,000, and they are looking at minorities and trying to put people that didn't factor into that particular equation initially. Let's see what becomes of that. They are kind of positive that by the end of October, they will be sure and they can give an affirmative answer whether their vaccine actually works or not. We still monitor what Moderna are doing, and Johnson & Johnson and Sinovac, some of the ones that are actually out there leading the charge in terms of getting a vaccine at the moment. Moving away from that, let's actually get into India. We've been speaking about India and how things are actually playing out. At the moment, well over 5 million cases have been recorded in that Asian country. Over 1.3 billion people, they've gone into aggressive testing, although Rufai says that is not enough. But when you put it side by side with the entirety of the world, the United States have tested the most, and they are head and shoulders above the rest of the world. The UK have also tested close to about 20 million. India are also hitting the 20 million mark in terms of aggressive testing. Almost 1 million people are getting tested every single day. And at the moment, you can actually see the rise in cases by 20%. The number of deaths are also rising. In India, 83,198. But the point, now the thing about India is this. The case fatality ratio, even though we are recording a slight increase in death, and there are talks by experts that in the coming months, India will surpass the United States in terms of not just cases, but maybe even in terms of deaths. But at the moment, that is not just playing out, just like we've seen happen in Africa. They expected things to blow out, but it did not play out. And for India, they've been hinging it on several different things, from the fact that probably the median age also in India is made up of relatively younger people. So certainly, you know that COVID-19 doesn't affect, the way it affects younger people is quite different from the way it affects older people. And also, the fact that they've also experienced other kinds of coronavirus that might have given them a certain level of immunity. Now, talking about the common cold, SARS, MERS, and what have you. They say, for all those things that have played out in time past, might have given immunity to several people in India, because we're seeing asymptomatic patients in India very, very rampant at the moment. They are doing a lot of testing, and we're seeing asymptomatic people in India. Now, you can actually see the deaths there, and it's still growing, but not as much as the number of cases. We're having more cases than deaths at the moment. The government are claiming that, because they are claiming that they are doing quite a lot to ensure that they keep these numbers down. Although at the moment they are having shortages in oxygen. The next graph would actually probably explain some of those things. We can actually see the rises still in areas like Andhra Pradesh, not forgetting West Bengal. We're also seeing Bihar, not forgetting New Delhi, and some other places actually seeing a massive rise in cases. But the government has also gone into overdrive, which the next slide will actually explain in terms of what they've done. Because when you look at this, you can see the green line, which actually shows the number of recovered patients in the most affected areas. Maharashtra, that has well over 1 million cases of COVID-19. 755,850 people have recovered from there. You can have the same as Andhra Pradesh that we'll be speaking about. Over 500,000 have recovered from there. And Tamil Nadu also, close to about 500,000 people have recovered from there. Reason being that they've actually gone so much into building infrastructure. The next slide explains that building major infrastructures, over 15,284 COVID-19 treatment facilities, 1.3 dedicated isolation beds are in India, although, like we said, they are actually having a shortage of oxygen at the moment, but they have over 1,314,646 isolation beds for COVID-19 patients. And it goes on to say, no, that breakdown actually shows what India are actually doing in terms of COVID-19, which is very stellar, I must actually say, almost preparing for this and not being taken unawares by this, because at the moment it is spread across India and they are insisting that a lockdown is not going to happen again. A second lockdown will not happen. Economically, they cannot serve it. They cannot stomach it. Now, looking at this now, this actually shows the projection of India. India is the light blue line there, and you can see the rise there as against the US, which are beginning to flatten the curve in terms of COVID-19, and Brazil also, who were once actually leading the charge, and also seeing the numbers drop. But eyes are still on India and what is going on there. Before I come to you guys quickly, let me just quickly touch on this. The UK also, the Prime Minister has also been speaking and saying that a second lockdown is almost impossible, that the economy might not be able to stomach another lockdown. It will be very devastating to the economy. You know, COVID-19 has always thrown in the major paradigm of livelihood and lives. So balancing livelihood and lives has always been the major issue. And a lot of people have gone for livelihood ahead of lives, hoping that maybe that might actually work one way or the other.
Okay, Aaron, a great one there. We talked a lot about India. I'd like to know what's happening in Nigeria. You know, the cases are quite low. Is it that we've beaten COVID-19 or we're beating COVID-19? And I also want to talk about Eli Lilly.
Yeah.
A pharmaceutical company that says it's got some drug in the works. You've heard anything about them?
Okay, unfortunately, I've not heard anything about Eli Lilly, but I'll look it up. And let's see, I'll bring some information for you.
But how about Nigeria?
But Nigeria, looking at the cases in Nigeria, like I was discussing before this time out, Nigeria also, we've not done as much testing, or the drive to test is not as high as possible, because when people are asymptomatic and don't even know about it, and the only time you feel the need and feel the urge to test is when you begin to see severe symptoms of COVID-19. Then maybe you might be advised to go and get tested by your peers. But when a lot of people are walking around asymptomatic and they test, and testing is not necessarily as available as they might be, Rufa, you might beg to differ. They're not as available as everyone would want to access them. Then it will be difficult. Because we're even seeing in Babcock, for example, 25, they're asking that if for you to resume in schools, you have to pay 25,000 naira to be able to resume, to get COVID-19 tests done in the institution. Everyone must pay 25,000 naira if you want to resume in Babcock. These are the things that people hear in the news that actually gives a little bit of downer in terms of COVID-19 testing. We're not doing as much testing in Nigeria. We're not even doing contact tracing as much as we can. So certainly the numbers will remain very low. It might not be the real reality, but that's what it is right now.
Aaron, with regard to testing, the United Kingdom, or if like Britain, presents us with a special case.
Yeah.
For the past 2 days now, Britain has been worried about the level of testing and the chaos that they seem to be facing. On Wednesday, the United Kingdom had its highest infection rate.
Yeah.
And today, government has been addressing this. We're told that Tories are not testing. That's what that's what some MPs are saying. That Tories are not testing. And 5 months ago, we were talking about testing.
Yeah.
Quoting the Director General of the WHO, and they have a crisis in that regard on their hands now in the United Kingdom. Schools had opened. About 740 schools have had to be shut down because teachers are now not enthusiastic about going to school to teach because they don't know their status.
Yeah.
And then today, there is also likely to be an announcement that pubs and restaurants in England should close earlier by 10 p.m. British Standard Time. So, but however, what the government is trying to do, apart from Prime Minister Johnson saying that a lockdown is not likely, they're also going to prioritize in terms of who gets the test. So I guess this is a thing about the management of resources. Yeah. But when you look at a country like the United Kingdom, paying close attention to testing and, with all the advantages that they have, so it's legitimate for us to raise questions about how much testing are we really doing in Nigeria? And the figures that we quote in terms of the positivity, the infection rate, are those figures really exact and reliable for planning purposes?
We're hoping that the antigen test, or the antibody test, I beg your pardon, the antibody test would actually reflect some of those things. That hasn't kicked into full gear. And in the UK, they're having what you call a good problem, because they are claiming, people that are not testing as much are claiming that the places that they've told them that they can go to get tested, it's a little bit, it's a distance from where they are. And at the moment, we're still watching what is actually happening.
I was going to talk about the vaccine, but we're out of time. Perhaps tomorrow.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody.